This is a little 5-10 minute job today. I'm doing one of the willow arches at last. Now I've been waiting to do this job since 2018 when we first started planting willow with a view to starting to weave them together. Unfortunately 2018 was a drought year and we lost huge amounts of them, and the few things we did save weren't willow, that were just cuttings that went in. We planted and we kept planting, sticking cuttings in, big long ones year after year. We've had droughts 4 years out of the last 5 and we've lost a lot of willow as a result. But the last couple of years, since things got a little bit more established, the cuttings have started doing a lot better. And finally, it took I think 2.5 years to get to this stage, but we finally got willow long enough that we can start weaving it into the beginnings of the first arch. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to put, this is obviously quite wide, there's at least 7-8 sections of cutting all the way through, and they're big long ones. They're not quite long enough on the back here yet. I want this to be a decent height arch, so we've got a little bit of wriggle room on the inside for very tall people. I mean, I'm 6 foot. I want a good foot on top of that for tall people to come through, and I want to allow a certain amount of room so that when we got things starting to grow inwards, I haven't got to be quite really obsessed with coming through and clipping regularly, which I will do, and you won't have too much as things get more developed, because it'll be a bit more shaded out on the inside here, but it is going to take some trimming. So all I'm going to do this year is I'm going to make a single arch here out of everything basically this side, so it'll be one big solid arch. Next year I'll do one when these get a little bit bigger. I'll do a second one here, and then as those put branches out sideways, we'll weave all those together, so then we get a single solid block of willow going up. But we get most of the effect today just with doing this. And I like willow structures. I've been waiting ages for this. So the simplest way to begin, I could get scaffolding and things to stand on and all the rest of it, but willow's so flexible I just don't need to. So I'm going to grab this, being the longest one on this side, and you can see just how far over that comes. Obviously I want it higher than that, but you can see. And on this side there's quite a few that are equally long, but this is a fairly smallish branch. This seems to be more tied into everything, so I'm going to go for this one. No, this one's slightly thicker, so I'm going back to this one. So at this point I'm going to just weave one around the other on this side. I'm not going to tie anything at this point. I'm just getting that woven around, and I'll do the same here, but obviously in the opposite direction so it doesn't undo itself. And then I'm going to let that go. And I think that's a bit low. That's a bit low, so I'm going to redo that. Just give that a little pull along, give myself a little bit more room. It could be that I've just woven it into an unpleasant shape, is the other possibility. Let's have a look there. Yeah, I'm satisfied with that. I think that's a fairly nice height. It's easily 7 foot at the apex. Cool, so that's the beginning. So now I've got obviously all this other growth that I'm just gonna weave in and around these other ones. And I'll do one from this side, so onto that I'm going to wind this one around. You can see these two actually meet here, so I could, if I wanted to, just wind those two together because they're really flexible. And then we've got 2 points of binding at the top there now, so things are starting to get a little bit stronger. So I got this nice, let's have a look. This is a fairly long one. I'm going to fetch this over. And really this is as far back as I'm going to go, because I want the other half to weave in next year. Because there's a lot of material here being incorporated into this. So you can see just how long that was, by how far down this way I've come. And it just keeps getting stronger. It's whipping up much more aggressively. Now I've done similar structures that are smaller to this on site, but not one with, now that's a short one, so I don't want to just let it go. So I'm going to prise out one of these strands and I'm just going to tuck it in. That's fine. And I'll do more or less the same. I don't have everything go full length. Some of this I'll just pull as far as here just to tidy it up a little bit. And some of this inner stuff here, I probably will just weave sideways down here later on. I'm just looking to get the long sections in. So let's grab, this is really good because, see, that's a huge amount to be incorporating. So I've twisted the whole lot around it once, and then I'm gonna take two of them around and then bring the other one around separately so they're not quite entwined together with each other. Ooh, wrong way. And I'm going to bring that once more around. I've got a bit of length left on that, so I'm going to just literally, see, I'm bringing that around to make a big loop, bringing the tip around, I'm tucking that back through the loop, and feeding it through. It's fairly flexible at this time of year. See, that's, I'm not making it tight, doesn't need to be. And that is now a proper anchor in there before I've even done anything else. So a couple of these little ends I'm just going to tuck in. Now if I wanted to, of course, I could make, you can see I could easily make another 5 or 6 of these and just let them to go the others, you know, for next year. But I want this to be a really good, solid, large arch going over. So I'll bring a bit more in from this side. So I'll bring this in, I think. I'll bring that right across the front here. To tie all that together nicely. I'll tuck that through there. Yeah, that actually, little snapping there. But it's okay, you know, willow will bear with that as long as the fibres in the bark don't snap completely. The tip might die, you know, but there'll be enough of this coming in. It was only like 6-7 inches. There's enough of this being incorporated that we can lose the odd tip and it's really not a problem. Now this I want to tie in. See, when I've been wandering down at some point in the past, I've already done this, which is why we've got, here we go, in fact, look, you can see here. When I've done this previously, that's actually snapped at that point, but because the bark is still attached, that's continued to grow and it's starting to go around. You can really, really treat willow badly, whereas this side looks like it's gone a bit too far and it's only a tiny bit of attachment. I think that's dying off. That's like perfectly positioned. So this I'm going to tie in, because I've already twisted these together. Gives a certain amount of strength already, but I'm going to bring this actually the other direction. So instead of it all being twisted the same way, because this is quite a large piece, I'm just going to wrap that around it. And then this piece here, I'm going to tuck again through, I've got my finger through the gap between two of them. I'm going to pull that through fairly gently because this has still got quite a bit of length on. There we go. And we'll leave that go because that will adjust and that will start growing vertically from there. This, you see, these things are starting to really project inwards now because of course we've brought things backwards. That's really cool. So I'm going to go a bit more on this side. So I'm going to bring this in, which again, nice multi-stemmed one, so that will add a lot. It's been a really good year for willow growth. All the willow systems have done really well. But I could have left this till next year and done both sides at the same time, but I've been waiting so long to do this that I just wanted to get the aesthetic of the arch in place today. So there we go. It's got a little tiny break in it, but it's very minimal. So that'll definitely survive there. Very cool. Now these won't be cut down. These will just be left to do their thing. So like next year, for example, we'll trim the inside of this and we'll take the stuff that goes vertical, then we'll lean down and tie into the other archway that will be here. But really, I mean, yeah, beyond that, the whole thing's just going to go vertical. These horizontals, they're just still, you know, they're pretty established, they're looking pretty robust, but they'll end up as, you know, trees as thick as my arm within a few years, then as my leg, and, you know, they'll start fusing together. And this will just be a single, you know, massive tree going absolutely, you know, straight up. And you'll get the sense of walking through an actual tree itself. You will be walking through a tree itself, a community of trees. I really like willow structures, especially, this is just really a part of the shelter belt. So we've incorporated a nice walk through here, so that from the car park up to the rest of the system, and we've got the camping pods and so on, but won't necessarily always have camping pods on site. So even beyond that, we'll still want access up to the top of the field. So if you're going to walk up somewhere, might as well make it sheltered by walking through the shelter belt. And if you're going to walk through the shelter belt, why not make it beautiful? Because not everything has to be entirely functional. This is a huge biomass generating system. It gives a huge amount of protection, and it also looks really nice. I mean, as you come around the corner, which is pretty much where the camera is, behind me you've got the view along the top swale in the system. You can't see them, they're still quite small, but there's a whole system of currant bushes and fruit trees running along there. And there's a, right on the end of the swale here, pretty much framed by this archway in time, is a sumac tree. I always blank on sumac. There's a staghorn sumac tree. So again, even in winter, you've got a nice high status tree. So it'll just look nice. And I find that if I literally enjoy walking up through this and just having a stroll around at stuff, and I notice things then, and things get more maintenance, and things get more care because I'm up here, because I'm just enjoying it. I'll make a cup of coffee and go for a stroll rather than worrying about, the chores that need to be done around the place. So you can see that's a pretty serious archway already. As I just bring more and more of this around, and there's no great artistry to it, it's just weaving and tucking. I will finish off with a tie in a few places. I probably, elsewhere in the system, I'd be considered to go with one of those reusable cable ties. They're really useful because you can take them off, they last for years and years, and they're adjustable. It'd be really good for just a year or so and then bring them down. But with this being, one of the, nicer walks through the site, I'm just going to go with some natural string so that if it just looks nicer. I would say, so if I forget, it won't matter. I won't forget. But I still would rather have it look nice. So, rather than have plastic around. So, let's bring that around once more and tuck that in. Now this, as I say, is as far as I'm going, but this does need to be tied in. So I think I'm going to bring that around the other direction, like I did on the other one, because that adds a huge amount of rigidity, I feel. And then we'll take that up through a little gap here. That's very cool. It's flexible, and it will be for a good while until they stiffen out, but I'm really pleased with that. I mean, there's strength in that already. So I think we could incorporate a few more of these, but we're going to hit a certain point that really it's diminishing returns, and we're probably better off just leaving them to be incorporated later. Especially now the cores here, if I'm strolling up here on a nice-ish day, let's have a look. Yeah. See, with it actually coming down a little bit, it's made it wider. So it might do a bit of a peak thing, and that's okay, or it might stay low. I'm really pleased with that. So yeah, and of course the wind's from behind me today. Yeah, I think that's broken. So no big deal, we're going to be clipping all these along the inside anyway. I could grow that out as another, but no, there's no need, we're not short on willow. But so yeah, that's the first one done. So the second one will be all of this material and all of this will be incorporated over the other side, and then we'll tie them together next year. But yeah, glad to have got that done. Nice. I forgot I was meant to tie it off. So what I'm going to do is just 3 points. I'm going to have one in the center here, so I'll bring that down this way. And I'll tie it off here, I think. Yeah, I'm going to I'm not going to be doing anything really aggressive here because I'm tying around the leaves and all the rest of it as well, because they'll be dropping within a couple of months, and that'll create a certain amount of slack, of course, and that doesn't matter at all. I'm not going for any fancy knots, just a double overhand knot, like a granny knot, just to hold it in place, because it isn't something I've got to recover. It's a natural twine that I can just leave in situ. I'll do another couple of them just to hold it all in place. But to be honest, we've got like 40-mile-an-hour winds forecast for tomorrow. I'm not concerned. This'll hold, because the willow is so flexible. Got another one here, and one on the other side as well. Just to hold it, literally just for a few months, really. By the time the leaves drop, the actual wood will have started to set in place. They'll have started to take the permanent shape that they're in. So you'd actually have to, deform the wood and risk breaking it to separate them at that point. And it still remains all that flexibility of the willow, but a huge amount of strength, because it's almost like a composite structure, like a lamination effect. So you've got all these individual strands that aren't necessarily particularly strong, but by the time they've all twined around each other and then fused in place, it's incredibly strong. Now this will blow around a little bit tomorrow in the wind. Well, there's a pretty extreme wind coming in, and it will be hitting this. It's not like he's coming from a direction that's going to miss it, but it won't be a problem. Otherwise I'd have left it till afterwards. If anything, it'll be stronger. Willow will from time to time break in high winds as an individual strand here. In deep winter that can happen in a major storm, but like this, it'll go fine. Right, that's that.